So, hi, folks. My name is Chelsea Hanoun. I'm the Exchange and Study Abroad Coordinator with Acadia University. And today we have the pleasure of connecting with Brian, who is from a new partner that we've signed in Morocco. So I'll hand it over to Brian to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Brian Sealstead. I'm the director of the International Office at Al Akhawain University in Morocco. So we're very happy to have partnered with Acadia and be working on developing our exchange relationship. Exchange is a very big part of our students' experience, and I'm hopeful that this will be a good opportunity for you to come to Morocco and do that. So I have a short presentation that I'll walk through that hopefully give you an idea of our university. And then, of course, you can work with Chelsea or reach out to me for your questions about coming here on an exchange semester. So just give me a second to turn this on. Hopefully it works right. Good. And I'll do that. Good. Do you all see my slides here?
Yes, we can see it.
Good. All right, so Akhawain University. So if you know Arabic, Akhawain means the two brothers, and it refers to the previous king of Morocco, Hassan II, and the king of Saudi Arabia at the time, who worked together in a certain way to start the university in the mid-1990s. This is our university mission. So I think I haven't looked recently at Acadia's mission, but I suspect it's something in the ballpark of being a public, not-for-profit university that's committed to future citizen leaders, with a globally oriented English language liberal arts curriculum based on the American system. I think this is pretty similar to a lot of universities around the world, where, again, based in the liberal arts, our degrees and our programs are a little bit more market oriented than, let's say, the pure liberal arts system. But still, we have our own take on trying to provide a high quality education within the Moroccan context. Most of our students here are Moroccan, about 95%. We're hopeful to get to, let's say, 10% of our student population being international at any one time, and we are getting traction that direction between visiting and degree-seeking students. But overall, this is a university that is very much focused on creating a new style of education for Moroccans. And we've been going at it for about 30 years now. So it's been a fun journey, I think, for the university. And the vision of the previous king was exactly to create a space of innovation and experimentation and so on for education in Morocco, and then, of course, connected to the world. Some of you may be interested in our history and accreditation. So again, we were founded by a royal decree of the previous king. So we are public, but we have an independent status, meaning that we have the ability to do certain things in a way that's different than the other universities that follow different sets of norms and so on. And one of the things that's been really important to our university is getting international accreditations. As you can see, starting in the late 2000s, different units at the university worked on this. And then so for you coming here, I mentioned this just so you feel comfortable that the education you're getting is at an international standard. So business courses here are accredited by EFMD, and they're working on AACSB. The school science and engineering programs are accredited by ABET, and then our whole university is accredited by NETSHE. So of course you're in Canada, so this may be less relevant or interesting to you, but in North America, in the United States, the regional accreditors are very important, and they are, in a way, the gold standard of accreditation in the United States. And they often play a role in accreditation globally in setting standard and so on. So we're very happy to be accredited by NETSHE because it's a regional accreditor. It's a mark of quality. It helps us stay at a very high quality. And not to mention that this is the same institution that accredits, Harvard and Yale and MIT and many other wonderful universities. And of course, many other smaller universities and within the United States and outside the United States. We were the first, I believe, university to be accredited by NETSHE outside the US, and certainly the first one in Africa. More relevant maybe to your own experience, Chelsea was just talking about your campus life as being very similar to ours. It's, we're a residential campus. Almost all of our students live on campus, and the town of Ifrane is a small one. So it's not a big city where there's a lot of attractions off campus. So we really make campus life sort of the center of the student experience. There's many clubs, tons of activities all the time, many ways to get involved with athletics, extracurricular, of course, even just the academic life, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is quite active. Students in class, we have small classes here. You'll probably be in class of 20, 30, maybe no more than 40. That's very rare if you're in maybe a larger business class. But again, quite small, active student life, in both in terms of the curricular aspect and the co-curricular aspect. And again, about academics, we're fairly straightforward here. Our degrees we have schools of science and engineering, humanities and social sciences, and business administration. So although we don't have as many, let's say, majors as a lot of North American universities, we do have ones that are pretty market oriented. And we find almost all the time that students coming here have a wide range of courses that they can take. Probably the only kind of students that may struggle to find courses here might be people like in the health sciences, although we are working on having some more health science programs and degrees, or in like educational sciences, but those are also things that are possible. A lot of students, and I'm sure Chelsea advises students who are even coming to a place here where you might be from a different major, but there might be electives or interesting things to take. A lot of students come here and take international studies courses or language courses, and they might be doing that part of their degree plan, but it also might just be an interesting experience to come to Morocco and study Arabic, even if it's not your major. Come and study Arabic or French, and take Islamic art and architecture or other courses. But I think for almost all people in majors, there's going to be the kind of classes that you want here. And again, it's not just the degree programs, but we also have quite a lot of general education courses. So you might take drawing, or you might take, it depends. We've been doing a lot more in ours. We've had theater classes and music. We've got courses in philosophy, and intro courses and more advanced courses in sociology, political science, and many other things. So you'll probably find a course that will work for you here. In terms of internationalization, this is very important and very big part of our university. It's a key pillar of the university. We have a study abroad rate of 75%. So 75% of our students study abroad. I know that that's a lot more than maybe a lot of North American universities. And Chelsea was saying that, you're growing this at Acadia too. That's great. It's wonderful to get out there. Here in Morocco, I think it's a kind of a cultural value for people to be interested in studying abroad, and getting out there is just part of what's in the sort of Moroccan cultural DNA. So I'm lucky in my own role in that I don't have to really push super hard to get our students interested. I just have to be looking for a lot of partners. So I'm very excited to be sending students, inshallah, to you in fall of 2024 and into the far future, where our students can come, get to know your students, and then there can be this interaction between us. And again, we have many active student exchange agreements. We're members of a thing called ISEP. That's a international student exchange program. Our faculty and staff are broadly international. About 40% of our faculty is not Moroccan, and 20% is like a binational. But all the faculty, I would say, have had significant international experiences. And when you come here, my office will support you as international students. We will help you with all aspects of your exchange, from picking you up at the airport or the train station. We have orientation. We have all of these things. We recently have started doing things like crash courses in Moroccan Arabic in orientation, other types of intercultural competence activities in orientation. And then we have a variety of events throughout the semester, usually having at least 1 week-long set of activities, either in International Education Week. That's more of an American thing, or later in the spring. This coming spring, it will be a thing called Global Spring Fair in April, and then next fall, if you decide to come, I think International Education Week is usually the first or second week of November. So there'll be activities related directly to the international experience that you can participate in. And beyond that, the whole university has lots of activities that are happening all the time, and all the students are welcome to participate. I don't think you're going to be bored here on campus with many things happening all the time. Social media is nice. You can take a look at our different things. I really recommend our YouTube channel. There's lots of videos there. You can even find some videos. There's a series of videos about international students talking about their experience. So you can get a good sense of our university from that. And I'm sure we also have TikTok and many other things that I don't always follow myself, but it's very rich. What questions do you have about Al Akhawain?
I think one of the questions that our students will really appreciate knowing is, like, what is the difference between like the campus culture and once you leave off campus?
Great. Yeah, there is a difference. So I kind of often it's almost like 3 circles. Like the campus is its own culture. Ifron is a culture too. Ifron is a small town but it has it's kind of a little touristy town for domestic tourism in Morocco. It was set up as a like retreat by the French during the colonial period. So there's a lot of nice little cafes and everything. But the whole town of Ifrane too is very used to international students, and there's restaurants and cafes, and it's kind of in a way more cosmopolitan. Sometimes people call Ifrane Little Switzerland, and that's a lot of the architecture comment, but I think it also relates a bit to the overall openness and kind of chill nature of Ifrane. Getting outside Ifrane, it's also great, but then you start to interact, with different levels of Moroccan culture. But people really have a good time when they go to, what I find students kind of get used to campus, they get used, and then within the first few weeks, they take their first trip to Fez and see the old Medina. That's another world. The old Medina of Fez is an incredible place. It's 1,400 years old, and it's just a really incredible experience to go there, to go to Meknes and go to many things. You can go to Volubilis, the old Roman ruins. I mean, there's so many things here that are interesting, culturally. And then there's another level, which is like the rural areas of Morocco. So we often have a hike for the new international students where we hike down to this small town called Zawit Sidi Absalem. And that was a town founded about 300 years ago by a guy who was kind of wise and so on, and he got this town going, and it's very interesting. They have a lot of homes built on caves, and there's a shrine to this guy there, and yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting. Morocco is just like any country in any space, incredibly diverse and interesting. But I think it is, has its own particular thing. Because it's an old country. I mean, this area has been, inhabited by people for millennia, and the Amazigh, the Berber population, the Berber language is probably one of the, I think it's maybe it's one of the oldest continuously spoken languages in the world. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn here. I have lived here off and on since 2005, and I do know a lot of things, and I'm pretty competent in many areas, but there's always something new to pick up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's really important when our students are considering moving to a different country, like understanding the campus culture and what it means to go out in town and the expectations.
It's very
So when it
comfortable.
comes,
I mean, you're going to feel
yeah,
good. I mean, I do, of course, in orientation, we'll talk about safety and security. There are things to be aware of for sure. But I think that it's a very, you get off the plane, you get to Ifrane, you're going to feel safe and secure here. And then little by little, you'll branch out to whatever level you want to for yourself.
yeah. So coming back to like campus life, what would be like the average number of courses a student would take like per semester?
Right. So we're basically American semester credits. So most classes are 3 credits, and most students take 5 credits. And our agreement, I think, will have it set pretty much for 5 classes or 15 credits. We can have a little bit of flexibility around that, but that's basically the norm.
Yeah, and that's the norm here too. Like a full-time course load is typically 15 credit hours.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And in terms of the residence, do people stay in like double rooms, single rooms? Are they apartment style?
Right. So they're double rooms for the most part. I mean, rarely. We've just finished building a lot of new residential buildings. So there was a short period where maybe students might have been a triple because we had some housing, but now everything should be double, and our dorms are nice. I mean, we, of course, some are a little bit older, some are brand new, but you will be in a nice dorm. And one of the best things about our dorm rooms is that they're kind of how to describe, they're like in a apartment, in that you have your 2 beds that would be in the same room, but you have your own bathroom and your own shower. So you and your partner will have your own bathroom, your own shower. So you don't have to walk down the hall to, take a shower, whatever. That's nice. That's better than what my college experience was, I can say.
And do students have a meal plan, or the rooms have
Yes.
like kitchens?
So they do have a meal plan. So our agreement, I believe, is one where you will have a chance to choose. You'll probably go for a half meal plan, but basically you have a campus ID card that will have a certain amount of money that you'll put on when you that will get on there when you pay your bill. And for the tuition only exchange, we can get in that, you will pay tuition at Acadia, but when you come here, you will have to pay for room and board, but it's pretty affordable. The whole semester, room and board, everything included, will be like $2,000, so it's pretty affordable, I think, for 3 or 4 semesters of living, including food and all this stuff.
Yeah, I really think out of all of our partners, we have a quite similar, like campus culture in terms of like residents and the class style and all the clubs and societies. So our Acadia students will integrate really well into your culture and the campus culture. So I'm quite
Just to
excited to
mention,
send students
when
your
it comes
way.
to when it comes to visiting students, I mean, we have most of our main partners are in the US. So visiting students tend to be pretty heavily American, some Canadian, European, and then Japanese, Korean. And then our degree seeking student population tends to be a lot more from other countries in Africa and the Middle East. So you'll pretty much find every population here. Although I would say that we don't have a lot of South Americans or Spanish speaking, folks that come here. But other than that, we kind of have, we don't have a lot of us, not many Australians or New Zealanders, although that has happened in the past. But anyway, that's you'll find, I think, a group of people that is pretty similar to your average, person in North America.
Yeah. And do you find that most of the students coming to Morocco to study abroad need visas?
You will not. No, you will not, unless if you're a Canadian citizen, you will not need a visa. You'll enter in on a 3-month tourist visa and we'll transition you to a regular residency status. And if you have a different citizenship, you'll just need to talk with us about what it is so that we can let you know whether you may not need it, but you may need a visa. Just depends.
Yeah, awesome. I guess the last question that most of our students are quite surprised about are differences in the academic calendars.
Right. I
What
think
is
we're
like your
pretty
timeline in
aligned.
terms of
Our
orientation?
next fall classes start September 2nd, and we'll go to like mid-December, and then it's like mid-January to mid-May, and then we have a summer session that goes like the first week of June to the middle of July. Our agreement is, I think, mainly focused on the semester exchange, but if you're interested in coming for the summer session, we can certainly work on that. We also have intersession classes that are between the semesters. It's 10 days. And those are also not so much part of the exchange program, but they're pretty affordable. I mean, for about $1,500 US, you get, 10 days, 3 credits, room and board for that whole period. You just have to get yourself here for those things. It wouldn't probably be part of the exchange agreement, but it would be another way to come to Morocco if you don't feel you can do a whole summer or a whole semester. Maybe 10 days in Morocco could be fun.
Yeah, nice little wade in.
Yeah.
And the last question I have for you is a lot of our students are quite interested to travel while they're on exchange and explore some of the non-academic extracurricular opportunities. What do you find a lot of your exchange students do during like study breaks or weekends?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the typical pattern I would say is they get into Morocco and they hit the Fez, Rabat, they hit the big cities in the first part, but then whenever there's a longer break, they will try to jump over to Europe, especially if they've never traveled that much before and they have never been to Europe. So, a plane ride to Madrid is like an hour and a half, and there's Ryanair flights for like $50 or less. It can be really, 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 really cheap to get there. And so I would say your typical student, depending, of course, on their budget and interest and all those sort of things, we'll really try to blanket Morocco and at least get off the big things in Morocco. The trip to the desert, spend the night in the desert. That's one of those life peak experiences. And then the big cities, and then go to Europe a few times and see some of the capitals there.
Awesome. I think our students will be so excited about that.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. It's definitely nice. We're lucky to have this proximity to so many things. And of course, we have every so often, students that really try something different. I just had a German student who, following when he finished his exchange, he was an avid biker. So he had his bike brought over and he biked all the way around. He went from Ifron down to the south and was making his way to Agadir. And then he just got a little tired and decided to get on the bus. But it's cool. People find all sorts of interesting things to do while they're here.
That's awesome. So Brian, I was just wanting to follow up. So if we have students that start Googling the university and they make it to your webpage, what do you recommend as like their key spots to look at in terms of discovering the university's website and getting information?
Sure. We just got a brand new website, so we're very happy about it. But I also will a slight caveat that, when you get a new website, there's little gaps and so on. So if you run on a page not found, just be patient. But honestly, there's a very prominently is the international section. So look at that. You can see things about our partners and experiences. Look at our academic programs for sure. Probably look at the the dining and other kinds of housing things to get a sense of it. And yeah, I think again, you're going to recognize our university is quite similar to any other, experience that you're having probably right now. And then, yeah, like I said, you might take a look at some of the events that are going on week to week. That's kind of fun, and you'll see that it's different. I mean, there, like it's going to be like musical events. In musical events, it's going to be styles of music that you're probably not that familiar with. Things like Shebi or Ganawa, Aita, other things. These are all part of the cultural experience that you'll get in Morocco, which is exposure to another way of living and being.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Brian. I know Acadia is updating our website too, so very familiar story for both of our
Yeah.
universities.
Right. It was a long time coming, but it's good to have a new website. It really does just give a fresh look on things.
Oh yeah, I checked it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to send students your way, and of course, if they have any questions, we'll be in touch. So thank you so much for putting this together, and I'm so excited to kick off our partnership in 2024, 2025.